Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Alex Mandossian. Alex is a Warren Buffett of digital marketing. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Alex Mandossian. Alex, welcome.
Thank you, Siddique. By the way, I don't call myself the Warren Buffett of digital marketing. My friend Harvey McKay, and best-selling author, calls me the Warren Buffett of digital marketing. So I want to establish that from the beginning.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It's such an honor to be with you, and amazing you taught this idiot how to be good on a camera. I have no idea how good I am. You're going to share with me at the end.
Okay. Well, maybe that idiot is a very smart idiot.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were? What are you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, I was on a park bench in Los Angeles, California, called MacArthur Park. I was $242,000 in debt. I was going to my mother's house because I got kicked out of the apartment I lived in, and I failed at a business after 18 months, which was a frozen yogurt and bakery store in Southern California in the city of Long Beach. And I was watching an elderly woman feed pigeons at the park. And it was summertime, it was warm. And she would go to the bird seed machine. She'd turn it. Back then it was a nickel. The bird seed would come to her hand. She would walk towards the pigeons and they would walk away. But she showed the bird seed to them, right? That was the lead magnet, the bait, right? And then she'd walk away from the pigeons. They'd walk towards her. And after about 5 to 10 minutes, the distance between the pigeons and the elderly woman got closer and closer. She finally got down on one knee and she put her out her hand, and the pigeons came and started feeding from her hand, and all the other pigeons came. And I was on that park bench for a couple of days. They remembered her the next day. They say pigeons are stupid, but I don't think so. And they came and they didn't have to go through that dance anymore. A little kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old, he was there with his mom. He wanted the result that elderly lady had, which was pigeons feeding from his hand. And unfortunately, he wasn't willing to go through the dance. And that is what, as business people, as marketers, as husbands and wives, we have to go through that dance of building rapport and getting someone to know, like, and trust us, understand us, and to believe in us, and then finally make sure it's the right timing. So he gave up. He threw the bird seed at the pigeons, and he never had that beak to hand relationship. And I didn't know it back then because I was very sad. And the next 3 years was not fun for me. But I learned on that park bench that if I sell and I market too hard, I have people walk away from me. If I'm too passive, they walk towards me, but I have to be willing to go back and forth, back and forth. And I believe the objection is when the sale begins. It's not the end, it's the beginning. I get excited when I get resistance to people. So it started back then in 1989. And from that point, it took about 15 years, but I made my first $1 million in a year in 2003, my first $1.25 million in 2004, 2005, $1 million in a month, $1 million in a week the following year, $1 million in a day. And at the end of 2006, a friend of mine, John Reese, did it before I did, so he got all the credit. But I was very fortunate to do it in a day. And then in 2007, with 2 other partners, Armin Morin and Rick Raditz, we made $1.2 million in less than half an hour, in less than an hour. So I've been very fortunate, and everything I learned was from those pigeons, and how to feed pigeons is how you do marketing.
Amazing. I'd like to ask a follow-up question. You know, like, and trust, or KLT model. What's that process look like for someone? Because you are my mentor, I'm going to squeeze everything from you in this interview.
Well, they have to know you first, they being the prospect. So how do they get to know you? You give them a lead magnet, or you give them some bait to read about, not an entire book, but maybe a template or a checklist or a blueprint. And you do a little video so that they get to know you. And then if you do it well, they get to like you. But they won't buy from you unless they trust you and you're predictable, and they can anticipate what you're going to do next, and they believe in what you have. And once they trust you, then you can ascend them and build their lifetime value. So know, like, and trust is the sequence of getting someone to purchase from you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. What are the top 3 mistakes to avoid?
Well, this is in any business. It's also in a personal life. The first mistake is you don't get started. and that's called procrastination. The second mistake is you don't finish, and that's called perfectionism, the fear of finishing. And the third is you don't keep it going. You don't build momentum. And Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a book very well known. He didn't make money for 20 years, but afterwards, millions of copies were sold, even beyond his death. It's not even advertised, and it sells year after year after year. And there was a story where these miners were digging for gold in California, and they were 3 feet from gold, 1 meter from gold. And they stopped mining. They stopped digging. And they sold the mining equipment back to the mining company. The mining company took over the mine, and they dug 3 more feet, and it was one of the biggest mines, in the history of the world at the time. So you got to keep going. You got to build momentum. So mistake number 1, you don't get started, procrastination, the fear of starting. Number 2, the fear of finishing, also called perfectionism, you don't finish. And number 3, you don't keep it going. That's momentum, because a business, like a baby, like a child, requires lots of love and care in order for it to be trained and work on its own.
You mentioned about care. You say, I quote you always 2 things. You are not as good as you think. You are better. I quote it just like it's my own quote, because I own all of your quotes with my own name.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is caring is your ultimate advantage. Tell us
Yeah.
more about that. What does that mean?
Well, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And many people are given credit for that quote. But caring is the ultimate competitive advantage, because you can't fake caring. You can have a tagline, you can have a unique selling proposition, but you can't fake caring. It's like trust. You have to experience it. And once people know you care about them, then they know that you're interested in them, and then they'll find you interesting. So the only way to be interesting to someone else so they buy from you is to first be interested in them. Stephen Covey was a former mentor of mine when he was living. He said, seek first to understand, then be understood.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn, and how did you recover from it?
The biggest failure story was when I lost over $240,000 in a business I knew nothing about, frozen yogurt and bakery. My grandparents gave me money. I used all of it with my mother's permission, and I was very sad because they no longer were living, and all that money was gone. My mother put a mortgage on her house, and it was almost paid off, and the house went into foreclosure. And luckily, the Small Business Administration didn't take the house over. My dad lost a lot of money because they believed in their son. And so I brought my entire family down because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I thought, I don't want this ever to happen again. And very, very depressed, very sad. I was even thinking the unthinkable. I never spoke the unspeakable, but I was so sad. I didn't feel like living because I was so depressed, because I couldn't figure out a way to get out. And what I learned most is that never go into a business you don't know anything about. Always become an intern in the business so you see you really like it. You want to be a doctor? Work as an intern in a doctor's office. You want to be a chiropractor? Work for free as an intern. You want to be a baker? Work as an intern. I would have never got into the frozen yogurt bakery business if I was an intern working for free. Invaluable lesson. It's the number 1 lesson for anyone watching. And how I recovered from it, I always became an intern in whatever business I wanted to go into from that point forward. And I thought, if I'm really good at marketing, then I'll never starve, because marketing is the only thing of the 3 things, production, operations, and marketing. Of those 3, production, operations cost money, marketing makes money.
What are your top 3 success secrets the others can model from? Promise me you are going to give us your best ones.
Well, my best happens to be fundamental, and fundamental, the first word in it is fun. So the single most important thing, this is in sequence, is to really know your market, your audience. So that's the first M. Know your market. Know what they're thinking. Know where they're hanging out. Know what they're doing. Know what their pain is. Know what their aspirations are. Some people call that an avatar, but really, really know your market, and see what they're saying in Amazon on books that are in a similar subject matter, or go to eBay, they bought products, and see what their comments are. So you really know how they're speaking, and just get to know, like, and trust that you can predict their future. So that's the first M, is their market. Next is know your message. So you can't have a message to a market you don't have. So market first, right? And then message, market is not verb, market is a noun. Like who? That's what market is. Message is what? What are you saying to them in order for them to buy? So if my market is a high-end meat eater, they love high-ticket meat, then I would sell them Kobe or Wagyu beef hamburgers, and they're $45 at wholesale, right? Because it's very expensive beef. And the first thing I would do is I would say, if you're a vegetarian, if you're a vegan, if you only eat hamburgers at McDonald's or Burger King, please stop reading now. This is not for you. But if you want the most delicious, succulent, and most expensive hamburgers on earth, this could be your opportunity of a lifetime. So that's having a message that caters to the market. I used to have a toothpaste called Super Smile, which is still online, and it was the world's most expensive whitening toothpaste. So I knew my market. It wasn't people who shopped at grocery stores or drugstores. It was women in salons who bought $50 eye cream, who bought $25 face cream and hair products that were very expensive. And the headline was, "What good is perfect hair and perfect skin? If you don't have a perfect smile, try Super Smile." And $24 was no big deal when they're spending $200 on a facial. So you have to have your message. The third thing is media. The market is who, the message is what, the media is how. And it's connecting the market to your message. That's all. And the media, you want many media, like a bicycle wheel. The market is the wheel itself with the tire. The message is the hub. And together, they're meaningless unless you have a lot of spokes, not just one, not just email, not just webinars, but a lot of spokes. A book is media, and those spokes are called the how. That's media. And those are the three success secrets. You can build any business at any time and anywhere in the world if you know your market, you know your message, and you know your media. It's fundamental, it's simple, but it's not easy, and it may take years to perfect it.
We're about to move into a lightning round. That means quick question and quick answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
What are you grateful for today?
That I'm breathing and my parents and kids are still living.
How young are you?
57 years old.
Alex, you are not 57. You are 18 years old with 39 years experience.
Nice. I believe that. Actually, emotionally, I'm 13 years old, so I thank you for the compliment.
What you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a father that my children are proud of.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
Any challenge I've ever faced, I look for a biography of someone who faced a similar challenge, and they usually went through a much tougher challenge than I did, and it gives me hope just to watch.
How do you start your day?
I wake up, I meditate for 10 minutes. I go and work out at the gym for 45 minutes with other people at F45, which is a studio. We work out together. I come back home. I eat fruit. I skip breakfast, and I read for half an hour. I do half an hour of copywriting. Then I start reading my email.
What is the advice you will give to younger yourself?
Never start a business you know nothing about.
Once you have a revenue generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
I don't have to. At this point, if she's seen me through the process of going through the evaluation of the market, the message, and the media, she probably is more convinced for me to start early than I am.
What is the impactful business book you have read, and what did you learn from it?
It's a Wall Street Journal bestseller. One of my friends published it, and it's called The One Thing. And it's written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And the one thing is focusing on one thing that is the one thing that you do as a unique ability and ignoring everything else. And I think it's the most powerful book I've ever read, and I've read lots of books.
Why being impactful is important to you?
Well, if I go to a gym and I'm not making impact and I'm just going through the motions, I don't really get cardiovascular and physical fitness. But if I go in there and I raise the intensity and there's a lot of impact, then I come out a lot more fit. So we're experiencing life. You might as well have more impact so that you have more of an impression on other people. Impact creates an impression, just physically.
Who is your living mentor and what's the impact?
My living mentor is Roy H. Williams, and he is in Austin at Wizard Academy. It has nothing to do with Harry Potter, and he's had that academy for many, many years. He is responsible for the majority of Rolex watches and diamonds sold in America, and probably the highest paid copywriter in the world, yet most people don't know who he is. He's called the Wizard of Ads.
What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered on my tombstone, if I have one, is 3 words. He celebrated often.
Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone who's a very slow learner who has very deep pockets.
How can we support you?
I want you to listen to my podcast after going to marketingonline.com. When you go there, you don't have to take an assessment. You don't have to opt in. Just click on the hand that's pointing down and look at the people who've endorsed me. And that is how you can know, like, and trust me.
We are about to wrap up. I'd like to have a few words about your today's guest experience on the show. What would you say about your today's guest experience on the show?
I love the lightning round, and I love how the beginning establishes the foundation of the interview, and it's only 15 minutes.
What would you say as a final word?
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing your wisdom with us today. On the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.